Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, and welcome to This Week in Baltimore Eating with me, Richard Gorelick. And you can join us here every Thursday at this time, 12:30 p.m., to talk about everything food-related in Baltimore and beyond, but mostly Baltimore. This Week in Baltimore Eating is brought to you by Eddie's of Roland Park, your neighborhood gourmet grocer on Roland Avenue and North Charles Street in Baltimore. And we have a guest this week, a special guest, and the special guest is Executive Chef Scott Hines of B&O American Brasserie. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Thank you. And let's just get B&O Brasserie in everyone's mind physically. Just tell where, I know where it is, but why don't you tell people where it is? And
Sure.
what it is.
So we're at 2 North Charles Street, right at the corner of Baltimore and Charles. We're connected to the Hotel Monaco. Been there, 9 years now?
9 years. Gosh, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, right?
It's such a beautiful space, and it adds so much to downtown. And, man, I got a question all the time. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Where can we eat before we go to a show at Everyman or the Hippodrome?
We're one of those spots.
You're one of those spots.
We are one of those spots, absolutely.
You're a spot for a lot of things downtown, because downtown, before B&O Brasserie came along, there wasn't much to do at night downtown in Baltimore.
Correct.
And this gives people a great option for after work, for lunchtime meetings, and also for this pre-theater thing. And it's just a great, uplifting, wonderful restaurant to go to anytime.
Yes.
Middle of the week. You don't have to wait until you have something to do downtown.
No, we do breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, brunch. We're always moving.
We were talking, your responsibilities, not only responsible for the food that gets out served in B&O Brasserie, but for the hotel as well.
Yes. Also the hotel, as far as banquets, room service, amenities. It's a long day.
Big job, long
Yes.
day. Over your shoulder, I'm looking out the window, and I can see the leaves turning on the tree. I can see some yellow and red. And outside this morning, it felt like a fall day, like capital letters fall day.
Yes, brisk.
Brisk. Just felt like fall, and I love it. And but it's time to turn to fall menus, and that's what you've been working on, I understand.
Yeah, we just rolled it out a couple weeks ago. Fall is one of my favorite seasons to work with in the kitchen. Lots of squashes and pumpkins and greens. Start getting a little heavier in our preparations to try and warm up to this brisk weather.
And so now we can have some cream in our preparations.
Oh, absolutely. So, like I said, a couple weeks ago, turned over to fall menu. Lots of good stuff going on there. Got a new pork chop dish, some new appetizers. I'm venturing out a little bit too. I've got like buffalo fried pigtails on there.
Oh.
I like to play around with some things and throw them out there and see if people bite.
Let's do it. Why not? What
absolutely.
have we got to lose?
If it doesn't work, you pull it. If it works, great.
You're not a hospital. You're not a hospital.
Right.
You're a restaurant, so you can afford to experiment.
A little bit.
It's my favorite phrases. I use it all the time. We're not a hospital.
Yeah.
Scott, I read something about pumpkin ravioli.
Yes. So it's a raviolo.
Yes.
Basically one big ravioli on the plate there.
So the singular is O and plurals ends in an I in Italian. So it's raviolo.
Yes. So it's inside. It's stuffed with some calabaza pumpkin puree, goat cheese, sage, tarragon. We put a duck egg yolk in there. And then we cover it with a hazelnut piccata, which is kind of like a gremolata, almost like a chunky gremolata.
Gremolata always trips me up a little bit when I used to have to Google it every time I would write about it.
Yeah.
So let's pause and tell people what a gremolata is.
Gremolata is basically, normally it's like lemon zest, or some sort of citrus zest, some like almonds or pine nuts, and some herbs is really all it is. Throw some chili flake in there sometimes. You got to have a little bit of that, though, a little bit of heat.
Chili flake's a secret
Makes
weapon.
a difference. Oh, absolutely.
Secret weapon.
Absolutely.
I love that. Scott, I read about some desserts, too, that are on the menu, too, and it made me really hungry and happy. And it sounded playful, but good, too. And desserts are, tell me about them.
So past few menus, we've kind of, me and our pastry chef, we kind of wanted to go more kind of, familiar, homey, just like we kind of do with the menu, and we also kind of like to play on familiar things. So we're doing a root beer float right now with ginger ice cream, and you can make it an adult root beer float with vanilla porter.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're doing a candied apple trio, We're doing a sticky date pudding.
Sticky date pudding sounds
Yes.
so good.
Oh, it's great. It's great. You know, and like I said, we're trying to be playful, yet we don't want to go too far out there. I always say Baltimore at its heart, they're adventurous, but they're a working class town. You know, and you want to give people stuff that's exciting, but not that they have to look everything up on the menu. That's not what we're here to do.
I'm going to go back to what you just said in a second, but I wanted to remind everyone that they are watching This Week in Baltimore Eating, brought to you by Eddie's of Roland Park. Choose Eddie's for all your Thanksgiving needs, from roasted whole turkeys to cranberry relish and pumpkin pie. They've got the flavors you remember. Visit their website for a complete holiday menu. And if you're watching right now, be sure to comment, like, and share, and follow us at hashtag JMoreEating. That was a really interesting comment about Baltimore diners, because I've heard that before in so many words.
Yeah, I believe it. You know, we all want to do really cool stuff. You know, and I always say that our concept is familiar yet elevated. Stuff that
familiar yet elevated.
You know it. It's familiar. We're just putting our own spin on it, because if we do what you can do at home, you're not coming to eat with us. So we have to find a way to make it exciting, enticing, you know, a little different. But again, I don't want you to look up everything on my menu.
So when you eat at B&O Brasserie, you know you've been out to dinner. You know you've been in the
Yes.
presence of a chef, and that people have created something for you.
Yes.
So it's like, I used to hear that all the time. Why would I eat out when I can make it at home?
Right. Well, and we want that familiarity there. We want it there.
Right.
You know, we want you to say, "Oh, pot roast," and then you're like, "Oh man, this is the best pot roast I've had." You know, yet it's familiar.
Right. I like that philosophy. Although sometimes when people would say, "I can make it at home," that's not always the point of going out to a restaurant. I mean, you go out to a restaurant for lots of reasons.
It's an experience.
Yes.
It shouldn't be just about the food. It's about the whole experience, service, being pampered, feeling special, you know, and on top of that, having a great meal. But if you don't have all of that, you know, you could have great service. If the food's no good, you're not coming back. Or vice versa. The food could be great, but if your service stinks, you're not coming back.
Right. So it's everything.
It's got to be everything. You're paying for an experience. They can cook a burger at home. It might not be as good, but you can cook a burger at home. You can cook a steak at home. You want to feel special. You're spending a decent amount of money to feel pampered.
Right. And people like to be around other people, too.
Oh, absolutely. I think the social aspect of it is just as important as the food and the service. Absolutely. If the ambiance is not there, again, if you're sitting in a stark dining room where nobody's in there, you could have the best food and best service, but you're awkward sitting in a 100-seat restaurant and you're the only ones in there. It's awkward.
I like your philosophy a lot. Let's talk more about what's going on at B&O Brasserie. What's coming up? Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yes, Thanksgiving's coming up. We'll be doing a buffet from 12 to 8. It's going to be a long day.
That's a long day.
It's a long day. People eat early on Thanksgiving. So, you know, obviously also being in a hotel, opening early to do that, we'll catch some guests that are checking out and, you know, the transient guests that are, you know, might not make it home for the holidays. So they can come in at 1 o'clock and get a Thanksgiving dinner if they desire.
Hey, Scott, you're from Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
What do Philadelphians do for Thanksgiving that Baltimoreans don't? Because there's a sauerkraut thing that Baltimoreans do.
Yeah. I don't know if there's really anything super special Thanksgiving-wise that we did growing up. It was pretty standard. Breakfast, we're eating scrapple.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a Philly thing. But other than that, they're not really, growing up, I don't really recall doing anything super special. I think it was pretty much the norm, you know, just get everybody together, watch the football games, and go to sleep afterwards. You know, sit on the couch in a coma, more like it.
Now, how old were you when you started contributing to Thanksgiving?
Oh, man.
Or were you always just...
No, I contributed a little bit. My dad was a cook. You know, I used to like to, by no means did I have the cooking bug when I was a kid. I was more worried about going into walk-ins and stealing ice cream sandwiches at my dad's work. You know, I didn't have the cooking bug, but I do remember getting in there and just being, you know, liking to get dirty, mashing the potatoes and not worrying about making a mess and, you know, stuff like that.
Stuff with the family. And cranberry, how do you like your cranberries on the kitchen table?
Growing up, I hated canned cranberry sauce.
Right.
I hated it. But it's funny that now I try and find ways to play on that using, you know, whether it's like agar gelatin or something, you know, to make like a revised, you know, upscale version of canned cranberry relish. Because again, it's familiar to everybody.
Right.
It's familiar.
And How about the string bean? Did you have the string bean casserole?
Oh, yes. I'm not a big fan of mushrooms, but I still serve it traditionally with cream of mushrooms and fried onions on top.
See, I like that your home philosophy is similar to your restaurant.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like you have a different personality.
No, absolutely not. It's got to transition. That's what I'm familiar to, and I don't want to do things that are too far out of my reach. It's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not here to, I'm here to push myself and my team, but I'm not here to reach so far that I'm lost myself.
This is a wild card question,
Uh-huh.
and we're both Jewish, and we're here working at J-More, which is a Jewish publication. Can we find any of your Jewishness on the plate?
You can. I like to throw little plays in there sometimes. So currently, my pork chop dish, yes, the pork dish, go figure, has a potato latke under the bottom of it, some roasted Brussels sprouts, and then, in my family, either your applesauce and latkes or your sour cream and latkes. I'm an applesauce guy.
Me too.
Yes. So I have a smoked apple butter on there, and then a charred leek cream that is sour cream based. So that's kind of my play. Here's your sour cream, here's your apples, or applesauce, but it's apple butter, and here's your latke. That's kind of my play. And
Love it.
every once in a while I do nods like that. New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, we do a hangover brunch. So this past one, I did a drunken matzo ball soup where it had pulled pork instead of chicken, and it was finished with grappa in the broth.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense.
Right.
To me.
So I like to throw these little plays and nods to it.
Oh, Scott, we're wrapping up. It's been fun, and I really thank you for coming down.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Just remind everyone that we are, in fact, talking about that you're working at B&O Brasserie.
Yes.
Is it officially B&O American Brasserie?
B&O American Brasserie is the official,
thank you.
but everybody says B&O Brasserie.
And what's the website?
Website is bnorestaurant.com.
It's easy enough for people to look up for themselves.
Absolutely.
Scott, thank you so much for coming down.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for
and
having me.
I hope you have a happy fall and a happy Thanksgiving
You
season
too.
to everyone there at B&O Brasserie. Hey, why don't you mention the pastry chef's name? Because
Sure. Nicole Rudder.
Okay, because we gave some shout-outs to her work, so we should say
Please
her name.
do. She does some good stuff.
Way to go, Nicole. And that's all we've got for today. Remember to tune in every Thursday at 12:30 for This Week in Baltimore Eating, which has been brought to you by Eddie's of Roland Park, your source for quality prepared foods, deli sandwiches, fresh produce, and unique gifts. Learn more at eddiesofrolandpark.com. We'll be back to you next week to talk more about J. Moore's brand new recipes database, which you can see now at jmoreliving.com/all-recipes. jmoreliving.com, all recipes. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank
Absolutely. Thank you.